Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Top Loft. Or wait, no, that's the wrong show. Welcome to the Babylon 5 Retrospective. No surrender, no retreat. This week on the program, we are talking about Season 4, Episode 5, The Long Night. It's a good one. I think someone is going to like this episode. And let me introduce him, my co-host, the man who has no sumps left to give. It's Cam. Say hello, Cam.
Good evening, everyone.
Good evening. Good evening. And since I have the whole panel in here right off the bat, let's just say hello to everyone. We've got Madman from Q2 Cast TV. We've got Outpost Nerd from Nerd at Night, and of course, Death Angel Shadow from the recently renamed the Bad News Bards channel.
No, I'm Darliga.
Wait a minute. I thought it was the soccer channel.
The soccer channel. Yes.
Nobody watches that crap.
World Cup.
By the way,
Right.
I'm here for Dean, who was supposed to be here. Unfortunately, heat wave is going on overseas, and he asked me to step in for him.
Is it 75 degrees Fahrenheit there?
I heard it was.
It was a lot higher, supposedly.
80? Of course, I don't know. They don't have air conditioners, not prevalent over there, so
Exactly.
they call it aircon.
Jeff, you were not
And of
far
course-
off with that first guess.
And of course, we have to recap some soccer scores for Death Angel Shadow.
Okay, well, mute it is.
Morocco beat Haiti 4-2. Wow. What a game. And of course, Brazil took care of Scotland 3-0.
Brazil.
Oh, what about Canada?
Canada lost to Switzerland.
You
2-1.
lost to Switzerland?
We lost to Switzerland. We did.
You
And
lost
of
to those
course,
chocolates?
Bosnia-Herzegovina beat Qatar 3-1.
I thought it was Cutter now. Then isn't that what they told us way back when?
Sure, you can call it that if you want.
Yeah, it's supposed to be Cutter now.
Whatever's
So-
good to you.
So, Death Angels, so when are you going to rebrand Bad News Bars to the Bad News Hooligans?
What is it? I'm not. The show's always been the Bad News Bards. All I did was change it to from Tennessee Tabletop Tavern because apparently not everybody knows that TN means Tennessee.
Okay, and now I remember why I don't bring in the guest right off the bat. Okay,
Yes,
All
that's
right,
right. Tennessee, where 2 new Buckies are coming.
Okay.
Cam, do you have anything before we get on to trivia?
Nope, trivia.
Trivia. All right, here we go. Let's go on to last week's trivia. The questions were from Falling Toward Apotheosis. By what name does Cartagia call his display of severed heads? Who lures the Vorlon into a trap? Is it my imagination, or is Mr. Garibaldi blank than usual? Who is giving updates on the Vorlon fleet over Babcon? And who suggests that the excess refugees on Babylon 5 be sent to Epsilon 3? And of course, your answers to these trivia questions.
BABBC.
The Cartesian calls his severed heads the Shadow Cabinet. Lita lures the Vorlon into a trap on Babylon 5.
Very good job she does.
And of course, Mr. Garibaldi, crankier than usual. I think Ivanova says that, if I remember correctly. Who is giving updates to the Vorlon fleet over Babcom? It's Ivanova. She's doing all the PR for Babylon 5. And who suggests the excess refugees on Babylon 5 be sent to Epsilon 3, which is, of course, the planet that Babylon 5 is above. Dr. Franklin does. Yeah, Dr. Franklin. All right. Okay. Anybody got anything before we get started of importance to this?
No.
All right, Cam.
Okay, we've got episode 71 overall, season 4, episode 5, The Long Night, written by J. Michael Straczynski. Original air date January 27th, 1997, and 405 in production order, so right in line. Sheridan continues putting the pieces in place for the final strike against the Shadows and Vorlons, while Londo and Veer make their final preparations for assassinating Emperor Cartagia.
All right, and let's just say real quick, hello to everybody in the chat. Let's go say hello to Dave. He sends greetings from the Narn delegation. appreciate that. Who else has made themselves known? Oh, of course, Hoot Owl is talking about freedom units. I'm not sure what he said. He's talking about Fahrenheit versus Celsius, probably. Yeah, and that's it. It says we've got 9 people watching. That's great. Awesome.
I do want to mention Amazon Prime Days, Babylon 5 Blu-ray box set is currently $54.99 on sale.
That's
For those of you,
that's like $5 cheaper than I paid for. Is that the Blu-ray?
the Blu-ray version,
Okay,
not
that's
the DVD
that's
version.
about, yeah, that's about
That's the lowest price that the Blu-ray version has ever been.
yeah, that's like $5 cheaper than I bought the DVDs at Walmart for, and so that's kind of cool.
Mm-hmm.
Upscale and
So
all.
anybody
And
who's tired of trying to find it on streaming, there you go. You can get yourself a copy of it now.
And of course, let me just say, Keith Studley just made himself known. So hey, hello, Keith, welcome. Yes, and I have the Babylon 5 Blu-ray edition. It's up myself. It's very compact. It's got all the episodes, none of the movies, and I'll just say that it's got no extras whatsoever. There's no commentary. There's no intro and outros of the in the DVD version, the original DVD version, they had. Coming next week on Babylon 5, they showed
All the bumper promo, yeah.
Bumper promos. That's what.
Yeah.
So the resolution is good. I thought it was better than DVD, but it's hard to say. I mean, the Blu-ray version was much later. The lead scene is smaller. Like it's letterbox doesn't fit the whole screen because they've upscaled it a bit. So it's it looks good though.
That's
just
interesting because mine's
Zero special features.
Mine is full screen on the DVD.
Yeah, because
I don't know. That's weird.
Yeah, they've upscaled it. I think.
Yeah, it's good to have both sets. Both sets are well into
the commentaries are awesome, especially that last one on the last episode, because it literally had like JMS, and JMS normally it's all him. In this case, it was barely him, and it was everybody else ragging on one another. It was great. I loved it. The whole cast was ragging on each other.
Hey, I think we should have a sub show of this in which Jeff can specifically go over
All
the commentaries. Yeah.
Yeah, I'll go. Yeah, that'll take a while. They're
And
every
let's
one of them is an episode long.
Let's say hello to Robert
Robert.
Satin in the chat. Hey, welcome. I haven't seen you before. Welcome to the program. Hope you enjoy it. Okay. We don't get any money for you buying the Blu-ray or the DVD set or both, so you don't have to buy it for us.
Oh no, what's
What
that?
the heck?
What was that?
It's not me.
All right. Anyway,
Sorry.
let me go into the. I'll do the detailed recap, and we'll get on with the show. Okay, so the show starts off with we see a picture of a planet. The shadows have struck back. They've destroyed a planet. There's 2 million people on that planet. That's from Babylon 5. They're looking at that. And of course, then we cut to Londo, and he's talking to a bunch of other Centauri. They are on Narn. They're talking about, hey, we got to kill Cartagia, or the home world is going to be destroyed. We cut to the intro, and then we kind of have 2 things going on here. We have the Sheridan, what's going on in Babylon 5, and then we've got what's going on with Londo. I'm going to go real quickly through what Sheridan is doing and what's going on in Babylon 5. After the intro, we start off with Sheridan and Ivanova talking. Sheridan says, hey, I need to leave you behind. I need you to go and find the first ones. I don't want you to come with the fleet when we attack. She's a little bit upset about that. She talks about how she doesn't want to be left behind, and she tells a story about her trauma at being told to wait and people not coming back, which I'm sure we can go over in detail later. We have a scene in the war room where Lanier's trying to tell him what's going on, and everybody keeps interrupting him. In the end of that one, we catch the Rangers finding out what the Rangers seeing a shadow attack go in and finding out exactly how they do that to planets, and also the next target as well for where is it the Vorons or the Shadow? I think the Vorons, where the Vorons are going. Sheridan tells his plan to everybody in the war room. He collects all the various League of Non-Aligned into the war room and tells them his plan. And he also basically sacrifices. He calls up the one of the Rangers and sacrifices him and tells him, "Hey, I need you to do this to lure the shadows into the same place as the Vorons are going to be, and it'll probably, I hope you don't have a wife and kids." Hinting that
was
he's going to die.
pretty morbid.
And he goes, "Sure, no problem."
Not really.
We have Sheridan listening to the transmission of the ship's destruction. And the final part is he is reciting into his personal log, and we see the fleet leaving Babylon 5 at the end of the episode. The Londo side, much more there on the Londo side. We have they're on Narn. We're seeing the courts, the decadence of the court. There's a jester who's jumping around, making fun of stuff. Londo's in the court. He talks to Cartagia, and Cartagia says, "Hey, you know what? I'm going to take you with me. You can be my high priest. You don't have to die on the planet like everybody else." I mean, that really doesn't do anything
for him.
But yeah. Then Londo goes to see Jakar. He notices that his eye is missing. Tells them that, "Hey, we're going to weaken the chains for you when you're paraded in front of Cartagia. Break the chains and distract his personal guard by, like, doesn't say how, but obviously by beating him up or something like that." We then cut back. Londo's walking around, and of course, we see that the Emperor has had the jester killed. He didn't like some of the things he was making, the jokes he was making. We have a scene with Veer and Londo talking about the poison and how it's going to work, and how you got to basically poke it right into the Emperor's chest in between his two hearts. And hopefully no one will know because of the way that the poison is set up, and it's virtually undetectable. We then go to the Emperor. They're parading Jakar around in front of a bunch of Narns as well. He's, "How do you plead?" Jakar doesn't plead, but instead he, at that same point, Cartagia whispers over to Londo, who's standing beside him, says, "Hey, by the way, those chains looked a little weak. I had them replaced." But anyway, we see Jakar break the chains anyway, and there's a fight distracting the guards. Londo grabs Cartagia and says, "Hey, come on, let's get out of here." They go into a side back room, and he's about to stab him, but Cartagia is a little bit wild. He elbows Londo in the face, and then starts choking him out and saying, "Hey, I changed my mind. You're not going to you're going to be on the planet and die with the rest of them. You told me to be quiet," or something. And then he turns around, and Veer's there with the poison that Londo dropped, and Veer stabs Cartagia in the heart, between the hearts. Next scene, we see the Londo coming out and telling the rest of the court that the Emperor's dead. And the other guys get together and say, "Hey, we want Londo. You want to be the prime minister?" And everyone nods. Londo says, "Hey, we're out of here. Leave Narn to themselves. We're going to abandon this place, and we got to go back, and we got to get rid of the shadows off of Narn before it gets destroyed." As the scene cuts again, and we see Veer is drunk. He feels a little bit guilty about how how he killed the Emperor. They had talk back and forth. It's a good, interesting conversation I'm sure we'll talk about. And lastly, on Narn, we have Jakar confronting his fellow Narns who are smashing up the place. And he's going, "Hey, what are you doing?" And they're like, "Hey, we're going to make you our new Emperor. And we're going to go kill the Centauri and take care of them." That's what one guy says. And of course, Jakar says, "No, I am not being a dictator. We're going to go back the old ways, and we're not going to, the Centauri are having enough problems by themselves. We got to work here on Narn." The guy calls him a coward, and Jakar laughs as he leaves, saying, "Me, a coward, me not sacrificing. What did you sacrifice for Narn? What have you, you're a coward." And he laughs, leaving. So yeah, lots to talk about. Some pretty good scenes, I think, and good conversations. Over to you, Cam.
Okay, I think there's actually as you said, there's really two fairly distinct and clear things here. We have basically the war plans, what's going on in Babylon 5, and then we have the Centauri stuff. I'd like to suggest we talk about the Babylon 5 war plan stuff, since it's the lesser of the two stories, I guess. Not lesser, it's just, obviously the more happens in the Centauri.
Less time was spent on it.
Right,
Yes.
right. Okay, so I'm gonna turn this over to you because there's a lot of crazy things happening over here. But I'll start it off. They have the discussion about that the shadows are striking the planets and everything, and then we have this interaction with Sheridan and Ivanova. I'll just put in my 2 cents to begin with. I thought that was a really good discussion. Actually, it kind of veered into Ivanova's background a little bit, but I thought it was appropriate for what's going on. And I thought it was a very effective scene between these two characters. Sometimes, some of those things don't quite mesh, but in this case, I think it did. So, Madman, you want to jump on that one first?
Yeah, I did enjoy the conversation they had. That she talked about her childhood. That when she was a little girl, she played with dolls. And says, "Look at me, uh, me playing with dolls." The military brat. And basically, she tells the sad story about her mother. That basically one day her mother had come down and sat and just wanted to watch her, just watch her play and all that. And then, she was sent away, and you find out later that, her mother had self-deleted herself
Yeah.
to that point, and, she just couldn't understand. She didn't realize it for a long time until she got a lot older that, her mother, did this to herself. And, the conversation between her and Sheridan says, listen, all my childhood and everyone has always kept me in the dark on everything. They've left me behind. I don't want to be left behind. When we come down to it, to the point whether we're going to go up fighting or cut or go down fighting, I want to be there, right there, when the action starts, to that point. And it's Sheridan says, listen, you're going to be there, but I need you to go and find the other damn it, sorry about that.
The first ones.
No, my computer was just about to do an update. The first ones with Lorianne, and to find the rest of these. And he explains, says Lorianne knows where they're at, so go find them and then meet up, then hook up with us later, to that point. And the conversation was really good. It was really strong for this episode on that. And it gives, like I said, it gives more toward, behind on Ivanova, that more than we've seen in the past on that.
Okay, Outpost, what do you think?
I don't know if any you other note, everyone else knows, how personal the conversation got, but how did it end? They end up, she turns around and says, "Good night, Captain," and he says, "Good night, Commander." It goes from that personal. It shows how they can be personal, but they also can be. They're not just friends or colleagues. They're in this for a reason, and I think I like how it ended. It went from the personal, and then like, okay, we need to put the personal back on the back burner. We're about to go into this galactic scale fight. Let's bring it back to the professional. And so I really liked the scene as well. I always like when they give some characters backstory, and I think this is probably since TKO in season 1 is the most we've heard about Ivanova's backstory that I can remember off the top of my head. So I really liked this scene. It showed a personal and professional relationship between Sheridan and Ivanova.
Yeah, that's a good point. Jeff, what do you think?
Well, I mean, did we learn much new? Maybe a little bit. with the conversation. Some of them maybe filled in a few of the details about her mom, but I think what I found the most important from that scene was actually the conversation that Ivanova, and Sheridan's like, yeah, come over here and sit down, and they actually had a frank conversation as friends and colleagues, and as people that are in it together, and I really appreciated the fact that he had a frank conversation with her and said, absolutely, you're going to be there, but I do have this important thing that we need to do, because if you don't do this thing, if you're not successful, then this may all be for naught. We could basically lose, even though we've unified everybody together. So but he does say, look, I've always respected you as a fellow soldier, and one, because that's what she wants. She wants recognition, like you said, as colleagues, and she is a soldier. So I think I appreciated that aspect of this scene more so than the part about her mom coming to, because we knew what happened to her mother.
No, I don't. I know we know she died.
We know she self-deleted. That's
I don't
Yeah,
remember
yeah,
that being said before.
yeah.
Myself.
It had,
well,
but
this
but
was
it
certainly
reiterated.
added detail into
Yes,
how she experienced it and
the
everything.
dollies and coming down as a little girl and her mom watching her. That part was kind of new.
Yeah.
So it filled out. That's what I mean. It filled out some of the details. So you get a little bit more how emotional this made her. Not just mom disappeared. She was sent off, and next thing you know, she's finding out about her mom. So, um, but but to me, like I said, the interaction about the respect and admiration that Sheridan has for her, that aspect of the conversation, to me, I took most to heart.
Okay. Yeah, I also like that because think about it, that she's never wavered in any of this. I mean, she's the second in command, right? And obviously Sheridan has this responsibility, but if the second in command's like, nope, you're wrong, then that would be a cue for the rest of the crew.
Hmm.
And of course, she was in on most of it, so we wouldn't expect that. But having someone have your back like that is very important. Snob, you're a military man. What do you think about this?
Yeah, it's a good scene. Very well done. Um, the I'm I think it could have gone either way with him saying, like, she's like, I want to be there, I want to be there. He could have gone either way. Either he either needs her there to command some part of the fleet and puts her in there, but he could have simply said, hey, listen, Babylon 5 is still important, and if we fail, someone's going to need to be in charge, and there's no one better than you. He could have easily have said, I need you to stay here. And I'm, but either way though. But I'm also reminded of a scene from the original Red Dawn, where they talk about where two of the kids escape after, at the end of the movie, and I think it's Patrick Swayze says, "Someone's got to live after
Yeah.
this. Someone's got to live." And I think they could have gone that way as well about this. But a great scene either way. Well done, and yeah, awesome.
I mean,
I actually think it's. I actually, like, in the first season, I was like, oh, more about Ivanova's backstory. Oh, come on. I was just going,
What?
but this was perfectly done, and
it was,
and we're not getting too much of it, and it was, very poignant, excellent.
And he could have just said, "Do this because I say so. I'm your commanding officer." But he was gracious enough to explain to her, "Hey, why I need you to do this. This what I'm going to be having you doing could mean the difference between defeat and
right.
victory." Or he could have just said, "I'm the captain. I'm the captain now. You do this."
Yeah, it usually works better if you know why people know why they're doing things. That's
Ours is not to reason why. Ours is but to do and die.
yeah, that's a very non-modern sort of feel at it. Much more nowadays, it's very much more.
Nope.
Hey, I want you to know why we're doing things, so that you can figure out the better thing to do if things change, and also you're more motivated. So I'm not surprised that he would, operate that way. I mean, he could have said, yeah, shut up and do it. But they have a much more intimate relationship than that.
I'm just saying that was another way they could have done it. Given their
they would have
the
fit
status
with
of
their
them,
relationship.
but they did it the right way. They did it the right way, but given their status as captain and commander, he could have just said, "Hey, do this. This is very important. I need you to go do this. Go find the first ones."
He also could have said he could have made it, said, listen, I mean, he kind of hinted at that. He kind of said it, but he didn't come out and say, listen, if you fail in your mission, we could very well fail overall. So this is the most important thing to be done. So he could have sort of framed
and
it.
And he can't trust anybody else. He couldn't trust anybody else to be able to succeed at it. I mean, he's putting a lot of faith in her to go out and do this. And if she doesn't succeed, even if he was trying to keep her, no, you're going to stay on the station because whatever reason, if they lose, the station's gone anyways. I mean, this is an all or nothing. This is do or die, period, across the galaxy. So,
yeah, I was about to mention that, as I was disagreeing on Snob on that when he's saying like, oh, she should stay behind. Believe me,
I said it could go either way.
If they lose this war, either the Shadows or the Volons are going to take out Babylon 5.
Yes,
that's what it's going to come down to.
I think the scene in Babylon Square with her on the bridge would have come true.
Maybe. Well, let me ask you. See, I'm not sure that's the case anymore. Babylon 5 doesn't seem to be of interest to them at the moment at all. They're taking out these other things. Sheridan has already kind of he's broken. Essentially, he rejected the Shadows, and now the Vorlons are done with him. I guess they could try and take him out for that reason, but it seems to me that the whole thing about them, like the rules are gone now. The old rules that they adhered to, and Babylon 5. I'm not sure. I mean, it is the center for these guys, but I think they're kind of viewing them as gnats almost at this point.
Yeah, remember what they're doing. Remember what they're doing now. The Volons.
We have no idea what would happen.
Yeah, go. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
We have no idea what would happen at the end. I mean, the Vorlons and the Shadows in the next battle could cancel each other out. Babylon, everyone could be dead. Babylon 5 could be the center of the galaxy in a sense. So we don't, yes, they could destroy Babylon 5, but we don't know what's going to happen. So it might be prudent to have someone you trust back at Babylon 5. Again, either or. It's his call.
The likelihood is they would kill everybody.
Yeah, what I was going to bring up is, look what they're doing, both the Volons and the Shadows. The Volons are taking out in other words, everywhere where the Shadows have had some sort of influence. Now the Shadows have begun to do the same thing in the reverse, where they're going after places where the Volons have had, they've been touched by the Volons.
Yeah. Well, let's move on to that, and you and feel free to talk about it a little bit more. But let's go to the next step and go around again, and anybody can talk about the older stuff as well. We have the war room scene here now, where Lanier is trying to bring a report, and you've got Sheridan, Dylan, Garibaldi, and this is where they talk to the White Star crew, White Star 14, with Walter White there. And so I'm sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you, Madman, but this is where they show, the attack, the means that the Shadows are using to attack these planets, where they're burrowing in, and then
they're using the cloud and having nuclear missiles penetrate the core of the planet and floating inside.
I think this is probably the most realistic way to destroy a planet in any science fiction I've seen.
Yeah, that's a fair point. It's they're kind of a lot of these things don't explain much of the mechanism. They kind of do here. It's like they're doing all these things. He's describing how they drill into the core and then they start to destabilize the core and all that. So yeah, I agree.
Realistically, all you need, it said hundreds of missiles burrowing to the core. Realistically, you'd only need probably just a few, maybe 5 or 10 at the most. This is where my autism kicks in. Watching this stuff, I'm like, wait a minute, how would you go around about destroying the planet? That's the kind of autistic question I've asked myself before.
I think I was going to say I think they said it was over 1,000 missiles
Yeah,
that were
Yeah.
100,000 megatons each, and that's
Yeah.
like, oh my God, that's
It's leaving
So
nothing
that wouldn't
behind.
kill life in a few days. That would kill. That would blow a planet from from the outside in. The planet would literally blow to pieces.
yeah.
So I was like,
Sorry.
uh, but I did. I thought like I'm watching this and I'm like, why did Hal had to get away from Lois and Malcolm and the kids? So he went to space.
It's funny
But
to see such an actor that became so well known.
So young.
yeah,
Yeah.
well,
So
this
young
was.
in it.
Remember, he had a recurring role for a few seasons on Seinfeld, and this was right after he got done with that. I looked up the dates because he was Jerry's dentist on Seinfeld for about 4 or 5 episodes, and that ended in Seinfeld ended around 97, if I'm not mistaken, or his part in the show ended then. And then I looked up the year that this was produced and released. It was right after.
Yeah, very beginning of '97 was this.
Always
Um,
look back at the roles people have had in the past in their younger days, and you could see the experience that they already have at a very young age on them. Cranston was perfect in this part. He played it very well, especially when he tells Entreza, he gives the we live for the one, we die for the one.
mhm.
Yeah, it was a nice little cameo.
I'm really what was really impressed about how well he the character took this.
Yeah.
Um,
Erickson is his name.
Mhm.
yeah, and I mean, because and he said, please ask the crew, and he comes back and says, Captain, they're all, they're all
Minbari.
Minbari.
Remember,
They knew what
they
they were
know-
They knew what they were signing up for when they
Mhm.
came into this. So,
Well, I'm sorry, Jeff. The one you're right. The thing I wanted to note here is that Sheridan did this in front of everybody, right? It's like
Yeah.
all the non-aligned worlds people and everything. So they understood the gravity of it, and everyone's just kind of sitting there like
Yeah, you just said the line that you put on that he's telling Erickson. He says, "Listen, I'm sending you a file, decoded. It's a top secret file." And he says, "Don't worry, we won't let it go into enemy hands." He says, "You don't understand me." And then you see the camera just panning over at everyone, and everyone is
Yeah.
looking down because they know that this crew's going to die. They ain't coming back from this. This is something that they're going to die for this. They're going to sacrifice themselves just to get the shadows into this situation.
Yeah, and a side note here, JMS loves this sort of thing. This has come up more than once, right? About, I mean, it's not exactly the same as the the World War II, where they didn't they didn't evacuate, the
town.
things, right?
Yeah.
It's come up before, and then this is kind of similar, and it's not the last time we'll see it either. But
Well, he's
He
always
did-
infused. He as a writer, he's always infused this. Whether it's like going forward, he did Sense8, Jeremiah. He's always had some sort of character that has sacrificed themselves in the same way, and it's written very well every time.
I like that. I appreciate that because so often in science fiction and the other major science fiction shows like Star Trek or whatever, it's always happy everybody escapes usually.
Yeah.
So
the
the
red shirts.
fact that there's some sacrifice in there. Well, the red shirts get shot. They don't know it. They're just like, oh, red shirt got shot, right? This is not asking. There's a difference between getting shot on a mission and asking someone to go on a suicide mission. So
It's like-
I appreciate them doing that for a change because too much of it is always happy.
sure.
And to get our obligatory Star Trek reference, I'm reminded of that episode where Troy is trying to get her promoted to commander.
Yeah.
And she keeps going through the holodeck test to save the ship, and it's like the only way she could do it is send Geordi to his death in the jet to fix something in the Jeffries tube.
Mhm.
And then she finally realizes that this is what Sheridan, I keep wanting to call him Sinclair. Sheridan is doing. He's having to make that hard sacrifice.
Well,
Because
well,
Snob is right. A lot of these science fiction, they make war seem not to be so clean, and it's really a very dirty job.
Well, I think it
making
was
another Star
imperative.
Trek reference, Jeffrey Hunter back in the original pilot, in the line when he's talking to the doctor, and he says, "Listen, I'm tired of the job, tired, the situation for, you know, that I have to protect 206 people aboard the ship. Who do I send down to the planet, and who's going to die? Who do I decide to die in that point?"
I think it was imperative that this be done in front of the full council
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah,
because
I
they
think
needed to see that he was absolutely serious,
the
and
weight of it. Yeah,
yeah, that this is one of those. Look, we can't have anybody backing out at this point. This is the future of all of our species depends upon this.
yeah. I think it also says the time for secrets is over with.
Hmm.
That's a
Mhm.
good point. Yeah, I didn't think
Yep.
about that one.
Although I have to admit, I did kind of go like, I mean, the whole ploy for getting the shadow, because this is all about tricking the shadows into also coming to Coriana, right? Because the Vorlons were already going there.
Yeah,
And it's like, what if there was a leak there, though? Maybe because it's like, just one shadow agent says, hey, this is a ruse, don't go there. But, I guess it still works for the show. I was just like, that was a bit of a risk.
well,
Just let me say,
war is
damn
risky.
Hudal. Damn Hudal. Let me also say that there's kind of two reasons. I mean, he's doing this in front of everybody. He's making them know what the sacrifice of one of their counterparts, so that they'll be more motivated. The League of Non-Aligned Worlds will be more motivated. But also he's kind of pressuring Walter White as well. I mean, I don't think that he really needed the pressure. I think he would have gone anyway. But there's also, hey, there's 30 different worlds counting on me. It's less likely he's going to say, wait a second. He'll be more motivated as well.
Yeah. So just in terms of the details, they also talk about and Stom, you might have mentioned, is that they were going to send, they talk about the plan a little bit, that they're going to send like 1/3 of the fleet to try and delay them in order to get the rest of them all in place with, hopefully the first ones. And they did mention to the rest of the council there that the first ones were, going to be part of this. Lanier, just a quick note, Lanier is also kind of not paid attention to this. This just yet another instance of Lanier being disrespected. I'd like to note.
I found it odd that Garibaldi of all people would do that to him, keep doing that to him, because Garibaldi has felt that way since Sheridan's come back. Not being heard, not knowing things. And Lanier was a lot more calm than I could have been in that situation.
Yeah.
He's like,
Now, but
I
correct me
think
if
I think it was a play on that. JMS
No.
wrote that in because the reason is, hear me out on this. If you notice the back and forth and everyone interrupting Lanier, what's the last thing that kicks in?
don't do that.
No,
That
the
they-
link. He's about to say something, and then the link kicks in. Now let's go fast back to the two-parter back, where Sinclair shows up, and they're about him and Sheridan are about to talk, and then the link kicks in.
Well, that's been a running theme the entire series, is the link
exactly.
kicking off. It's like, where do you first see Sinclair? In the very first episode, you see him with his link off in the observing dome, trying to get a few minutes of peace. That's been a running joke the entire series.
Yeah, exactly. And I think this whole conversation, I think it's just another way JMS was just saying, hey, listen, I'm throwing this joke in again for another shot at it in this episode.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's primarily a bit of a joke, but maybe there's a little bit of, we've seen Garibaldi acting a little bit off these last couple episodes, and he seems to be a little off in this whole war room scene. It reminded me of Aliens, and he's Hudson. He's like, "Oh, we're all dead, man. We're doomed, man." He was doing that whole thing.
See, I thought Garibaldi was calmer than he had been the last episode. He was still kind of dooming a bit, but he wasn't so obnoxious about it. And the other thing
I'm talking about him being calmer than he would normally be in like season 3, right? So.
Okay. The other thing is, correct me if I'm wrong, but I think they did show Garibaldi and Lanier sitting next to each other and kind of, as if they were interacting in some way. Did you guys remember seeing that?
Can't remember off the top of my head. I can't remember off the top of my head that.
Repeat that one more time. I'm sorry.
I said that I think when Lanier was sitting by Garibaldi, kind of as they were kind of going through this discussion, and it seemed like it's like they were interacting a little bit there.
They were talking over Lanier. All three of them.
They were at the earlier point, but then Lanier finally was able to spit out what he was talking about.
Yeah, he at the very end of the scene after
Sheridan goes, "Did you have something to say, Mr. Lanier?"
And then the link goes off.
Well, no, even after the link, he goes back. He's like, "Yes, what I've been trying to say is ... I will say this about Garibaldi in that whole scene. Like, I think he's like the everyman in that scene. He's like, "Are you kidding me? This is what we're up against. We're way out of our league, boys and girls." He's like the realist in this scene. Like how any one of us, if we found ourselves in that situation, how would we react? Probably not unlike Garibaldi. He's like, "Are you kidding me? This is what we're up against."
Mm-hmm.
I mean, Garibaldi's still one of the senior guys on the station. He needs to put up a brave front, even if he thinks everything's going to hell. Morale could go down into the toilet if he's if he doesn't support the leadership and what's going on.
But understand he is a realist to the situation and puts this out, but he does step up to the plate when it needs to be every time and throughout these past 4 seasons.
Yeah.
But
okay,
he doesn't complain so much in the earlier seasons, and sure, he steps up to the plate. But hey, if you're going to step up to the plate, then stop bitching and just step up to the plate.
Well, we know there's something going on with him. Again, he's said a lot of things that are demoralizing recently, and you could speculate as to why, but it seems like there's a probable reason. Okay, so at the end of this, we do find that the shadows did take the bait. They have whatever, I forget what it was exactly. Ericsson's ship does get destroyed. The other 4 White Stars that were sent there do escape. And I forget exactly. Do you guys remember how they found out? Go ahead.
It's an intelligence report that there's a new base that's about to go live
on Coriana 6,
operational on that planet where the Vorlons are going to. Now, we didn't get to how the shadows get I didn't see how the shadows get the information from Ericsson's ship. Because he talks about we got to destroy our ship, but maybe they were captured in the.
It literally had you hear the fight go on over when Sheridan's at his desk. So they.
Yeah, we heard.
But
we heard
one of the things Erickson says is, "Oh, we got to destroy the ship or something like that," and then
their ship.
His own ship. And we don't.
No. He says talking about the shadow ship. He's not talking. He's got to make it look like a real fight. So he's not going to, in the middle of a fight, destroy a ship.
Well, my point being is that we don't find out how these shadows get the information if they capture the ship and scour the computer bank or whatever. We don't know.
I don't know that either. The question I was asking though was, how does Sheridan know that they know? I forget what if there was a specific thing, but they did know they were going there though. I think they mentioned that. It's like, they took the bait,
That's pretty much all he says about it.
Okay.
Yeah, he kind of, it seems like he assumes that because Erickson failed, then therefore the
He
shadows
didn't
know,
fail.
and they will be. He failed in that he got destroyed.
Yeah,
Or,
well, but
That
his
was his
mission
mission.
was to.
yes, yeah, but he failed to save his ship, i.e., he got himself
His job
captured
was
or
not to
destroyed or
save
whatever.
his ship.
No, I understand. I understand. I understand.
Yeah.
I'm just saying that
mission accomplished is what.
yeah, Sheridan seems to assume that he, he's successful because Erickson, and I'm putting up air quotes here, lost the battle like he was supposed to.
Yeah.
But I didn't catch anything that was proof that it happened.
No, but we as the audience are told that, though. I mean, but it doesn't seem like there's a lot of.
Now we could speculate that basically these ships were there were a total 5 ships in total. The ships were destroyed. The shadows have had thinking go through the wreckage, find out if there's anything important in the wreckage.
Well, just Erickson's ship was destroyed. The other 4, that was part of the ploy. Was
that was not?
That
I thought it was they were all destroyed.
No,
the other ones escaped.
No, just yeah.
That was a plan.
Anyway, he mentioned in the fight, it was like, oh, get out of here. I'll cover you or whatever. So there was something like that. Anyway, so then at the end, Sheridan and Delenn are, they're departing for the battle. And I'm sorry, this is a bit of a tangent, but having read the, the supposed original storyline with Sinclair and Delenn, that scene really brought that up in my mind. It was like the, where the end of that storyline was, that's just a side note of mine, I guess. But anyway, anyone else have anything to say about the war plan storyline before we move to Centauri?
I think it's fairly well, except for Sheridan saying, "Hey, I guess everything went good. It's good to go." I guess they took the bait. We don't know why. The plan is a little bit more filled out than some of the things JMS does. He just sort of waves and everything's happened. I mean, Sheridan's like, all right, well, we're going to delay these guys. We're going to get everybody else in place. Like, they actually have a plan that makes, somewhat of a sense militarily, and not just sort of, oh, we're going to do it. And they just do it. Right.
And the whole plot in this episode was about that exclusively.
Yes.
It was, So I actually like that part of it, the way it was set up.
So often that they're just, the writers don't have any military experience, and they just sort of go, oh, well, just yes, and everything happens. So they at least made an attempt to explain how the plan was going to work, not just we're going to lure the shadows over there. How? Oh, it's just going to happen. So good on them for doing that, putting the time in.
Yep. Okay. Anybody else on this, or move to Centauri?
I'm good.
Okay. Hearing nothing else, we will go to not Centauri Prime, but Narn, where we open up with Londo, who has now expanded his conspiracy to, I think it was 1, 2, 3, at least 4 other guys, I think. And, Londo's, we get the sense that they had talked prior to this. And I at the beginning, there's this, they give him some pushback about this with, it's like, well, why is this guy on the throne? Because of you, and your buddy Rifa. And Londo kind of accepts that and says, I took care of Rifa, I've taken care of that problem, but we've got to do this. We've got, I think there's only 4 days left now. And they mentioned specifically about killing Cartagia. I hadn't remembered if he was going to keep them out of that in terms of the killing part. But they did know about it. Let's see this. I mean, there's a lot here. I guess we could break it into the beginning when then we have Cartagia telling Londo about the high priest thing, and then he goes to visit Jakar, and talking about the chains being weakened and buying off some of the guards, but not being able to approach his personal guard. And then, the instructions, that Jakar is not to kill him, that Londo, they'll take care of that.
Not to touch him. Yeah, not even to touch him.
And
don't forget, great maker, your eye.
That was the worst bit of action I ever saw Peter do.
It says, my eye. No, but Jakar comes back pretty good on that. It says, my eye offended. him.
Well, no, that's
Doesn't
fine. That
matter.
was
I
great
can see
response
things
from
now that were
Andreas,
invisible
but
to me before. Yeah, an empty eye sees through an empty heart.
Okay.
the acting that Peter decided to do was awful.
What okay, let
With this
me ask,
kid,
what didn't you like about that?
it was just you're right. It was like us. I can't explain it. It's just the
He didn't expect you have to
no.
remember, he was
He's in.
surprised that
Well,
It's
he
like
walked
he
in there
hold
and
on.
no eye.
Let him
no. He walks in, sits down. He should have noticed if he would have walked in and saw it at the door when him standing at the door. But it took him a good 15 seconds.
I can agree that the pacing was off a little bit with that and that he wouldn't have known about it by that time.
Outpost.
Don't
Remember,
outpost me.
it's no, listen. It's a dark prison. Until he reached over,
God.
you said 15 seconds. When he walked over to him, then he noticed. We see it brightly because we're seeing it from our POV point of view. But think about the way a Centauri, a non-prison and a Centauri prisons are. They're just literally like caverns in these series. And they're dark. You're walking into something dark. There's no light really above them. It's dark in that prison. They're in darkness.
Dude.
Okay, I want
so hard at
I
that.
want to go around the horn for everybody here, but I just want to kind of set the back end of the first segment here, which is then we see the thing where
Yes,
he
please.
kills the jester, and then they have the scene with Veer, and the assassination weapon. So, Jeff, you haven't
Before the jester thing, I have to bring this up, and Snob has the picture. If you can bring that up. Did you recall seeing this when the first time the jester was like he had made fun of Kartaja?
Like in the scene,
And it's just like everybody was
Yes.
shaking, and this guy is like he's looking like freaking
like he has tremors or something.
He's tremoring, but he's got the eye look of one of the Klingons. In
You know
Deep
who he
Space
reminds
Nine.
me of in that picture? The what's his name from you mentioned Seinfeld earlier. What's the crazy neighbor guy?
Kramer.
He looks
Kramer.
just like Kramer to me. In fact, I'm like, is that Kramer? It could be.
Yeah, but he's sitting there. But see, unfortunately, this is a still picture. He's sitting there like, oh,
Yeah, they're shaking.
God, he's going to kill
That
him.
glass looks like it's about to break. His hand is shaking so bad.
Yeah, I think they're emphasizing again that Carthage has been getting crazier, and it's just like maybe killing
bad
people.
acting choices, in my opinion.
Well, they're extras. I mean, so
that should not matter. From my training, I learned you as a background actor, if you do not do anything that takes away from the lead actors in the scene, you don't do anything that pulls attention away from it. This guy just did exactly that. He pulled attention away from Cartagia and the Jester. I know it was.
I think it's an important part because it puts to the point that the court is showing that the court may be disagreeing with Cartagia, and they don't want to say anything. They're afraid. It's showing the fear in the court. He's a court member, so it's basically he's afraid. He sees this jester over there making fun of Cartagia, and it's like, oh shit, and who knows how many more people he'll take with him.
Now, also, wasn't this was a separate shot, wasn't it? Like if I remember,
yes, it was a separate shot.
So
this
it wasn't
the
really
a shot. This was a separate shot.
Yeah, I think I don't think he's taking away. This shot is probably separate. Oh, make a crazy face.
Okay, who are we talking about in this whole sequence then?
Well, okay, but here's the thing.
This guy.
I understand the point you're making, Outpost, but the director made this choice, though. So even though I can agree with you that it might be like over the top, but that's the choice they went with. I mean, they could have not, said, hey, no, don't do that. We're going to do this differently, So I can't blame the actor necessarily if he's been given that direction, and that's the thing that they keep,
Yeah, I don't know.
Well, anyway,
Yeah.
the fair point though. If it didn't work for you, it didn't. That's fine.
Yeah, that's okay if it didn't work for you. I mean, for me, it's that basically showing that basically the court is afraid of Cartagia. They know he's a madman at this
And
point.
he's going to kill everybody, and
Yeah.
they don't know what to do. They're afraid
Well,
to act.
he's already said he's going to kill everybody.
He's
I
going
mean,
to kill everybody.
um,
He's like, is he going to do it now or is he going to do it later?
although so the whole thing with Londo and the High Priest thing is I didn't quite catch it. They were going to watch it from space, I guess. Them destroy
Yes.
that was it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Pretty much.
Yep.
Can we go back to the meeting, the conspiracy
Sure.
meeting? Keith made such a good point that I wanted to make.
Mhm.
Holy crap! Veer with finally getting some cojones. He's with the most powerful men in the entire Centauri Republic sitting there, and he actually chimes up and disagrees with
I
one
did
of them.
notice that too.
The Veer,
Yeah.
the Veer we've seen the past 3 seasons would have never done that.
Yeah. Right. And the fact that they kind of accept it too, right?
Yeah.
They don't be like, shut up here, and well, but this is a small conspiracy, right? And the people at this table are part of it. It's
Yeah,
kind of like
he's-
when Sheridan, had the War Council originally. It's like, okay, anybody can speak their mind here,
Yeah,
So-
he's being taken in as an equal partner in this sense, because even though he's a more minor, he's rank doesn't matter as much. Has anybody seen the Tom Cruise Valkyrie movie?
Mm-hmm.
You notice
Yeah.
in that conspiracy,
Yeah.
some people are generals, some are colonels, some are different, but
Yeah.
they're actually their ranks don't really matter as much as
Right. Yeah. Tom
to
Cruise's
some
character
extent, but
was a colonel, and he was basically running it.
yeah. And
Great.
so
Great movie.
I think that's the kind of sense you have to look at this, that he's more towards an equal partner.
Yeah. Yeah.
Is there a protocol in conspiracy? Yeah, there is.
Pretty much.
But a good point.
There probably is on Centauri Prime, because there's so many conspiracies that go on.
But it's a good point to bring up because it is important for Veer as a character.
And
Yes.
remember, Londo points out another thing. They said, "Oh, it was your fault, because Malachi died." He says, "I didn't know Malachi was going to die. I took care of Rifa, but when it comes down to it, when I die, I'll pay for what I've done upon my death."
Mm-hmm. Yeah, good point. Okay, so now the meeting to the assassin weapon
Well,
segment here. I want to go
wait.
around and what, Jeff? I was going to go to you right now to just any thoughts you have on.
I was waiting to talk about the scene in the with Jakar.
Yeah, it's just,
with Jakar and
about it,
Londo,
then.
you mean?
With Jakar and Londo.
Yeah. Go ahead. Anything in this whole segment? Feel
Because
free.
I was getting ready to say something, and then we went on this tangent.
No. I was trying to go around the horn. Here
I know. Well, no, you went around the horn.
okay.
What I was going to say is, I thought the scene was actually really, really good. You could see that, Londo was seeing. He knew what was going to happen, but now he's actually seen what has happened, and it's already it's bothering him. And the conversation about that Jakar and him had, where Jakar says, "I see without my eye, I now am seeing more clearly than ever." And he can see things that were obscured to him before. He points out that he's got no his heart. What he says, his heart is empty, I think is what he says, something to that effect.
An empty eye sees through to an empty heart.
Yeah. So I think that was a very poignant thing. And it's revisited later on when we get to the conversation between Veer and Londo, after the fact. But at any rate, so that was I thought it was like very, very important that they were kind of almost setting up for what was going to happen later on. And of course he says, I've weakened your chains. Only till later on, Cartagia said, "Oh yeah, I thought the chains looked a little weak." So, it's kind of a
And if you
yet
notice that
he still had the
twice,
strength. Mhm.
not once but twice, that Jakar has been in prison, he's been enlightened. Back when
Yeah.
he was in prison in Babylon 5 for attacking Malari, and now this time where he's on Narn in prison by Kataja. And he's
Right.
had an
I think
enlightenment.
I think this whole scene is much more important for Jakar and his enlightenment, exactly what Madman said. And I'm assuming that, this is going to, have a big effect on what, happens in the future with Jakar and how he, how he operates. And we kind of have a hint at that at the final, where he's confronted by the Geelong, or I can't remember. I think
Yeah, you got it right, Geelong.
Geelong. So
yeah.
I think that this whole scene is most important. There's some Londo in there, but it's most important for Jakar. 80-90% more interesting for what he's going through. And yeah, I second that what Madman said.
And there's more of that whole Easter type symbology that goes on here later on.
I have to also add on there too a little bit of at the end of Caligula and Caesar as well.
Oh yeah, very much. They're doing a Caesar type plot. Is really. I mean, the long. What's the episode? The Long Night. Has that ever been used as a reference to Julius Caesar's demise?
I've never heard it on there. I've never heard it as Caligula's either. So
yeah.
Well, I think it's. I mean, obviously it is important for Jakar, but I like the details Londo puts in here too. Again, it's not like you were talking about with the war plans. It's he's like we let us handle it. We're gonna we've got this. We only need you to do this. Which again, earlier it sound when the plan first hatched, it sounded more like maybe he intended to have him to Jakar to kill him.
I think it's important that he doesn't though, because if he does, then it's going to be all out genocide on the Narn, right? Because that's what they killed. See, they killed the Emperor, and now we've got to destroy and wipe every last one of them off the, Whereas he didn't do it. He fights back and somehow surprisingly breaks these chains, and I think to everybody's surprise.
Well, let's move on to that segment. But just does anyone else have anything?
Yeah, let me just say thanks, Robert, for stopping by.
Yeah.
Come back next week.
Anyone else have anything on the setup that they want to talk about?
Yeah, just on that point that Jeff mentioned. We didn't know. I wasn't aware that this would happen. This gives us a little bit more about Centauri culture. That he's like, don't kill the emperor. Don't make sure you don't kill the emperor, because if he does, then we'll have to genocide Narn. They'll never let you guys go. So I think that's an important little bit of Centauri.
That's
information. Not surprising, but still, I didn't know that.
See how that's. I don't get it.
It's because okay, the perpetrator, if it's a Narn.
I understand that part, but I don't understand how that's part of just Centauri culture. That would be with any culture. Londo is creating a way out for both of them, and if Jakar does anything, it'll fall back on them.
Exactly.
It'll give the Centauri a rallying cry to go after keep going after the Narns.
Exactly.
But I don't see how that's just part of Centauri culture.
I think he was saying if someone murders the emperor, they're going to take it out on them.
Yes, but if they murder the emperor, but if Londo murders the emperor, hey, all fair.
That's just politics. That's just politics.
Well, okay, we're getting ahead of ourselves because we see how it plays out. So
but you got to remember, the Centauri bombarded the freaking Narn planet into the Stone Age. Remember that to that point, and they just did it just to conquer them.
They used weapons of mass destruction on them.
Yeah, mass drivers. They could just come back with mass drivers again. And
but it is, it was stated after the mass drivers incident that if a Narn killed a Centauri, that they would kill 1,000 of them or whatever it was.
Yeah.
So that is still in effect as far as we know. But
it just gives us a little bit about the way that Centauri think and how they operate, right?
Well, he did say that.
Yeah,
he did say,
the emperor is okay.
If you kill the emperor, then thousands of your people are going to die.
For
And retribution.
no, he basically said that we would never leave Narn.
Right.
So I mean, Centauri killing the Emperor, hey, no problem. Foreigners killing the Emperor, no bueno.
Right. We can kill him, but you can't.
Keith Studley asks, well, we're going to get to this. Were the chains still weak because the guards were more loyal to Londo? No, I
don't
didn't
think
take
so.
it that way. I think it was meant to show how dedicated
Resolve.
Jakar was.
Yes.
But let's move on to that now that we're
Those Narns are tough, man.
yeah. So now we're at the scene where they're parading Jakar around, humiliating him and such. And Cartagia mentions to Londo that he had the chains replaced because he thought they're weak. Again, Cartagia not being stupid, or not as stupid as you might think he is. At least he's crazy, not stupid.
He's crazy, not stupid.
Right. And then they have the whole thing about how do you plea and all that, and it's obviously Jakar doesn't mention it's interesting because he starts pulling on them and Cartagia is like aware of what he's doing, and he's just like, oh, you can't do that, blah blah blah.
These are the finest, whatever Karakian steel or whatever it is.
And then obviously he does. Chaos breaks out. All of this happens.
We're missing out on a scene before this, though.
Oh, okay. What?
The scene where Veer brings Londo the poison.
I mentioned that. We didn't talk about it though. Do you want to? Do you want to say anything about it?
I think it also shows that the scene in the meeting at the beginning and the scene where Londo and Veer still shows that yes, Veer has grown stronger, but still people see him as weak. Because in how Londo says, I know no one's following you. No one would think you were doing this. And if you noticed, the device is jewel encrusted, beautifully done. It just shows. I think that more than anything in this episode shows how in Centauri culture, this is. Remember, they said this is the old ways. In the old days of the Republic, we would have poisoned you.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And this is going back to, and it really, I think it's an amazingly thought out, well done assassination device. I think.
Yeah, well, I agree, and they did mention something about that. And orally taken poison would never get past his food taster. So
it's not enough.
But it wasn't really weakness to the point. It was to the point like he's too nice of a guy. He wouldn't kill the Emperor.
Say he was weak. I said he was thought of as weak.
That's what I'm saying. But it's not they thought it was weak. Is basically he's the nicest guy in the world. Why would we?
That is weakness in some
not necessarily
culture. Yes,
not
it is.
It is in a way, but it's
no, Madman. Veer has been called over and over again a bad Centauri because he's too nice.
Before.
No.
After the Lincoln incident. No, hold on.
Madman.
Hold on.
No, you hold on. You're
the Lincoln incident. No, listen to me. After the Lincoln incident.
All right, hold on.
Remember that point.
Madman, go. Oh, guys. Madman, go first. Explain your point, and then Outpost counter, please.
Remember the Lincoln situation when he was on Minbar. His star was rising. Okay, there were people respecting him. They gave him a wife at that point, and he got respected. And then they had the little situation where Londo found out, and it came down a little bit. But the thing about it is, it was not that he was shown as weak. It's just that basically he's not that kind of Centauri that would be a plotter. It's not weakness. He's not a plotter.
That has how they called him over and over again.
Hold on. Madman, you finished?
Yeah, go ahead.
Okay, Outpost, counter, go.
They have called, and you left out an entire part of that plot point, Madman. How when he comes back to Babylon 5 with his reports, Londo basically has him rewrite everything to show, because he's not a good, in their eyes, he's not a good Centauri in the fact that he doesn't plot, he doesn't scheme, he doesn't backstab. That is my whole point. People are not seeing Veer for that yet.
But you're making the point. You're missing one point in that, because after that situation where Londo was writing it up, he goes to the court and he says, "Hey, Lando's been writing this up for you, hasn't he? He says, he's from the old school. We wanted to know. It's in other words, the court wanted to know the truth to the situation.
Okay, can I mention something that might help resolve this?
Go right ahead, Cam.
Maybe Cam does out. But let's let Outpost respond if he wants to respond to what Madman just said before we get that, just so that everybody gets a good.
You're looking at this from a small group. The whatever you call them,
the old guard.
No, the group that's all around the emperor.
The
people he.
The court.
His inner court.
You.
Yeah.
They don't know this stuff. They still see Veer as a nobody. Very few people, and that number, yes, is growing, see Veer as more capable than he lets on. Veer is that typical wallflower that he's a perfect spy because people don't notice him. They're not noticing him yet.
Okay.
They didn't even notice him when he went to go get the weapon.
That's why Londo.
Yeah, exactly. Okay. But that's not weak. But that's not.
Okay. I think we beat this point.
He is weak.
All right.
Everybody had their say.
Okay. The one thing that hasn't been pointed out yet is when Londo mentions about, you couldn't do this. Veer pushes back on that. He's kind of like, well, it's not that I couldn't, so Veer is, a little self-aware or maybe self-conscious of that. And is like, well, if I really wanted to, I could do that, even though it's not in his nature, obviously. So,
well, I think there's a point to that Londo knows Veer's character and is trying to actually protect him from that. That's why Londo is like, I'm the one who has to do this, and that's why that's the plan is Londo is supposed to do this, but then Londo gets kind of taken by surprise.
Let's we went off on a tangent before we finished this segment, but let's continue on to that. And Jeff, I'll go to you first on it.
Cam, I wanted to comment on this scene here.
Go ahead.
I actually I'm 50-50 about this scene. The first part I liked with Londo joking about they always wrap these things too much, and then the whole interaction between him and Veer with what we just discussed, whether Veer's capable of doing this or not, and all that. I like that, but then I just thought it got a little bit over the top with they're going about maybe he'll say kill Londo and Londo killed me and stuff like that. Just went too much. I wish they had just cut it before that sort of thing where they're sort of yelling and joking about how they're going to kill the Emperor in this room, and I'm thinking, I hope this room's not bugged. I hope the windows are all closed.
I'm not the only one.
Make sure you close the door, right? Is that door soundproof? I hope so. So
I agree.
I was half and half on this show, on this scene. First half, very good. Second half, not so
I think it went a step too far. You know what I'm saying? Because I could see that it's like they're in the middle of this heavy thing and they're like breaking the tension a little bit.
Yeah.
But I agree. I do think it went a little too long.
Yeah, it was a little too far. I understand why he did it, and I think in a situation like that there would be some breaking of the tension, and there'd be some But I just this was too much too far.
Well, a point on that though, at the end of that, Londo's like, okay, let's go though. It was like Londo was really locked in on this. His resolve is well portrayed, I think.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, Madman, did you have some other point on that?
Yeah, I was going to. Well, after that, I was going to point out the biblical sense of Jakar being marched through the cities to Carthage at that point. So it's especially when he kind of falls over and they go to raise. He says, "Don't don't worry, don't pity me. Be strong. Don't cry."
Yeah, that was the point I made when I said there's some more Easter type of scenes, reminiscent of that type of symbology there.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, JMS, the most interested in religion atheist ever.
Yeah, no
for
kidding.
An atheist, he's read his Bible and his classics a lot. Eh?
Yeah.
That's good. Good for him because stories are based on that stuff. But
Yeah.
Yeah. Well done.
Okay, so I was just setting up the thing, where obviously the chaos breaks out, and then Londo's like, "Oh, Your Majesty, come on, we got to get out of here." And then, he's going to. I really like the way they frame this shot, is because Londo, Carthage is in the foreground and ranting, and Londo's like, he's not like nervous, but he's like, "Okay, it's time. Let me get this thing out." And then Carthage, of course, inadvertently slaps it out of his hand, and he loses. And Londo's like looking. I really like that Londo's just like looking around for it, like, because it's like, I mean, it's everything, right? It's like he needs that thing to do it. There's no other way, and then of course, Carthage grabs him and does all this stuff. Fear comes in, and then it happens. So okay, Jeff, let's start with you, about this scene. The courtroom scene to the death. What do you like this?
I mean, I thought that the portrayal with Jakar doing that, I thought that was, I think that was very poignant. He's like, he's still for his people. He's like, don't show fear. Don't let them see you, and he's basically trying to, he's telling the children so that they'll tell others, and that the word will spread,
Yeah.
And then he, because he kind of stumbled, but I think he almost kind of stumbled deliberately so he could do that. I mean, I'm sure the actor did, but
Well, I think it was a very purposeful. JMS did that on purpose. That it
Yes.
was because it was,
symbolic.
Yeah.
And then of course, Jakar wrapping his hands around the chains, and even though the chains have been replaced, he still managed
didn't
to
know that.
summon. He did wrap his hands around the chains.
No, I'm talking about. I don't think Jakar knew that the chains had been replaced by Carthage.
No, Jakar did not. Jakar did
true, yeah.
not.
Yeah.
But
That's what I'm
he
saying.
still, but Londo, but he did. He had the chains replaced, and Jakar still managed to start prying these things apart. And everybody then, of course, at that point panics, and he's just, he's now free, and he's
Narn on the loose.
He's Narn on the loose. Yeah, wild Narn on the loose, and and of course now it's like Londo's now got his chance to scurry the Emperor away. Look, we need to go. We need to go now. And because chaos, of course, as you said, was breaking out in the court area. I did find one ironic thing that he says, look at this, isn't this excellent? They almost virtually recreated it exactly the same way as the palace, because that they did this use the same set. They may have changed the lighting from the outside windows. That's probably it.
It was good though. They had set that up several episodes back. That they were going to do that. Remember?
Right. Yep.
Okay.
Yeah. Of course, and then they take him back, and then the Emperor just kind of like a bipolar moment, just flips, and and now is like turns on Londo, and that of course takes Londo by surprise. There now there's a tussle. I mean, the Emperor's got Londo by the throat. He's got his, and Londo can't get the thing out, and can't, and it, like you said, it kind of gets knocked away out of him, and he's looking around for it, and he can't find it, and then up comes Veer, grabs the thing, and gets him. And I think he got him from behind, right?
No, he turned into it.
Oh, he turned into it. Okay,
he turned and ran into it.
Yeah. And as I pointed out earlier, I think Londo, knowing and being envious, as we'll talk about a little bit, of the innocence that Veer has, was trying to take this burden off, and take this burden onto himself and do it, and Veer winds up being the one that actually does the deed. And saving Londo as well.
Let's deal with the aftermath of it. But yes, right. Jeff, let me ask you a question. Did you think? What did you think Veer was doing there? Did you think he was like, "Yep, I've got to grab this thing and do it," or did he just pick it up and incidentally do it?
No, I think he thought that we have to make. I think he believed honestly that what Londo said is correct. This has to be done, and if Londo can't do it, I'm here to do it. I think he was at first probably grabbing it to try and give it to Londo, but then the
No.
situation just turned, and he was like, "Ugh."
Yeah.
Mm.
Well, let me ask
Well-
everybody that question, and then you can talk about whatever else you want too. But let me just quickly do that. Outpost, do you think Veer, you know, did it incidentally, or it was like, yep, I'm plunging into it, I'm killing him?
Nope, Cartagia ran into it.
Okay, Madman, what do
He
you think?
literally, the way the scene played out, he literally turns around and basically walks into the dagger.
Okay, Madman, what do you think?
I have to agree with Outpost on that one. Yeah, he. I mean, what else could Veer do but press the button at that point? He just,
Yeah.
that's
Okay,
what happened. He just walked right into that knife.
That's fine. Snob, what do you think? Incidental
I
or
agree.
intentional?
I agree with Jeff. I mean, Cartagia did walk into it, but I think Veer decided it's got to be done, and Cartagia made it easier by walking towards him, but Veer decided to do it and did it on purpose. And
Okay.
that's why he feels so guilty later.
Okay,
Yes.
now let me raise a point with that. I don't know. I mean, I have my own opinion, but here's what I think with the scene, Madman or Outpost that you mentioned with showing it. They specifically showed us how it worked, and it was you put it to his chest and then you push it, right? So
Mhm.
Veer wouldn't. I don't think they showed Veer walking around with the thing deployed. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
So I think Veer he knew what he was doing and he pushed the button.
Absolutely.
But that's not what I'm saying, though.
Okay, go ahead. Well,
I'm saying Cartagia turned around and ran into it, and
Yes.
then Veer had no choice but to push the
Okay.
button.
okay.
Because you hear it go off. You can hear the button, him click the button, and it go off.
Okay, fair enough. Madman, is that? Did you want to?
Yep, that's what
clarify
he
it all?
just turned. He turned around into it. It was surprising. You didn't see Veer come up right behind him the way the camera shot was. It's like Cartagia just turned around. There was Veer, poof, and that's it.
Okay, so I think we're all
Oh.
agreeing that Veer did choose to push that button. It wasn't just
Yes.
like
Mhm.
you know.
No,
I mean,
that's not what I've been saying. Veer did not.
okay.
I don't think Veer wanted to do it.
I don't think he wanted to either, but I think
I
he
think
did.
the circumstances. If Cartagia had not turned around, he would have handed it back to Londo.
I think that's a fair, position. Sure.
I think he
Yeah,
might have stabbed him in the back.
I don't agree with that. I think
I
Because
think he
it,
would've
no,
stabbed
it,
him in
had,
the
it
back.
couldn't. It wouldn't have worked in the back. It had to be through the chest between the two hearts.
Yep.
Yeah.
It had to be
And
in
when
that
he
specific
turned,
place.
it was right dead center. And then
Yeah,
when
yeah,
you see it,
so-
he's pulling back. He's pulling back, and you see that the pin, the blade is extended already out when he comes back on it.
When he comes back, I don't know if I don't remember. Did we see it clearly or did he turn into it without us really seeing Veer?
That we don't see Veer.
Okay,
Yeah,
so we
that's-
see
it's
Veer
okay,
the
shot
last
that way.
second when he turns around.
It's shot that way. Even when he turns around, he gets it, and we don't even see who it is. It's shot that way on specifically.
You see
so that
Veer
we don't
pick
know
it
what's
up.
happening.
Don't you see Veer pick it up?
I
No.
don't
Sure
remember
you
seeing
did.
that.
No, not at all.
I think they're purposely shooting it that way so it's a surprise to us. The Emperor turns, we think he's got away, and then he gets it right in the chest, and we're like, "Oh, who was there?"
It-
and we didn't see anybody.
It
Yeah.
didn't
Oh, it's
surprise
Veer.
me. It didn't surprise me at all, though that Veer did that.
Oh, really, Mister? Looking ahead.
Mr. What?
Mr.
Commentary.
I did not watch any. There was no commentary about
Okay,
this.
well, Jeff. So Jeff, just explain
it
that.
doesn't matter if we're surprised or not. It's meant to. It
Okay,
doesn't
but I
matter if
wanna
we're
hear what
personally
he-
surprised.
I want to hear what he has to say, though.
I actually think that I surprised that Veer was the one who did it a little bit, but not totally, not taken blindsided by it, because I think ultimately in the long run, I think that's kind of how it was going to happen, because Londo could no longer protect Veer's innocence. Veer needed.
So
Almost
is this kind of
needed that.
is this a meta reason, like just from you kind of reading the story, saying, yeah, I think something's going to have to happen with Veer?
Yeah,
and-
maybe a little bit. If something there had to be a turning point at which Veer was like, look, this is Because we're literally Londo impressed upon him. Look, billions of people will die.
Yeah.
If this is not done.
Yeah,
You know?
and we had seen that Veer was on board with killing him, but it's a
Yes.
different thing from you doing the killing, which is the next scene we'll get to, of course. But
Well,
sorry, go
I
ahead.
think I think it's important. I mean, this is a reflection of the past thing they just had, the discussion they just had about Veer being incapable. Oh, you're incapable of doing this, and Veer's like, I'm not incapable. I just don't want to do it. And now he has a chance, and he is capable of doing these things that no one thinks.
And if he didn't, it might not have happened. They might not
That's
have
right.
Yeah,
succeeded.
everything
Well,
would have been
and-
screwed.
Well,
Yeah.
think about that, and because right after that, the guards do come in, right? And,
That's right.
and Londo's like, "Oh, he's had a heart attack." I mean, Londo, plays it well there.
Yeah, he does.
And it just so happens that he was holding him as if he was helping him, so that was that worked out nicely.
Yeah.
But then, obviously the scene kind of ends there. They run off to get help, and then the next thing we see is Londo coming into the court. Where everyone is on pins and needles here, and he announces. What was that?
Sorry, I just, before you move on, I wanted to mention one other thing.
Okay.
I think I think this is interesting, and early in the scene where Jakar's beating the crap out of everybody, Londo turns to the Emperor and goes, "Sir, Emperor, we've got to run." And I, at first I thought, hey, this is kind of stupid. Like, why isn't the Emperor leaving? But then I'm like, he's crazy. He's a god. I'm a god. I'm just going to sit here and, nothing can happen to me. And so he actually needs Londo to tell him, I think we should leave.
Before you become a god.
I like that. Yeah, I like that little part because it kind of reinforces a little bit, in my view.
Mm-hmm.
But,
okay, so Londo comes in, the court and announces this, and then there's this little interplay with some of the other conspirators, right? That kind of give cover to, it's like they're like rapidly fitting the puzzle pieces in, and getting everyone to just kind of buy into it, right? They're taking advantage of the shock of everyone, and then the one guy's like, "Oh, I appoint Londo as the prime minister." He's like, "We don't have, there's no heir. We don't have time to go through the process of doing a new one. So I suggest Londo as the prime minister." And Londo seemed surprised at that, though, right?
A little bit.
That he wasn't expecting it.
Yeah, I think. Sorry.
Go ahead.
I think this is Londo seeing that this is one of his three chances, kind of going out the window, if not the last chance to get out of it. And it's gone. Remember,
which one were you talking about, Outpost? I mean,
he's prime minister now. He's a step away from the emperor. And remember, Michelle Barrett said you have three chances to change your future. You've already used two, and I think this is the third one going bye-bye. You're done.
Okay. What was and what is the third one? Do you recall?
Him being made prime minister.
Was that
save the eye that does not see?
That's
not
Jakar.
Kill the one who's already dead.
That's
surrender
Sheridan.
yourself to your greatest fear.
And he does surrender himself to his greatest fear, which is taking power.
But I think that's what Outpost is saying.
We're at that point. I don't think we're at that point. I think the only one of these three, the only one that matters in this episode is the first one. Save the eye that does not see. And that's
Jakar.
Jakar.
Okay, well, that's everybody can have their own views on that. That's fine. But let's, Madman, what do you think about this? The parading Jakar to the death and I'm sorry, we already talked.
Yeah, we already talked about
this. But okay, about this the announcement.
The court. If you notice, all the conspirators that he had there were all there,
right?
And basically that's the reason why he positioned them. So the court would see, says, "Hey, listen, the emperor is dead. We're going to have to get somebody over here to take over. To this point, and the court is going to agree with anything these guys are going to say. And then, of course, you see it. He says, "Well, we're gonna put Londo Mollari as prime minister." And Londo's like, "What did you just say?" And you see the court; they're just bowing themselves. They all agree. They're like, "Oh yeah, Londo, let him be prime minister." To that point. and it's the look he gives. Always remember, it's the eyes that you got to always pay attention to the eyes in these episodes. Is basically he's like, oh shit, tell me I'm on my way to be emperor. To that point.
Well,
because we already know he's going to be emperor down the line. We already know that from the future tense,
right?
But he's been told already. Both him and Veer will be emperor when the other is dead. We know that for a fact. That something to that nature in the far future is going to happen. But now Lando's like realizing it. He's on that path. He's starting to get on that path road to there.
Right, but what does Lando do at this point? He immediately continues the plan. I mean,
he's like sitting there like, well, he's trying to get, in a way, he's trying to get around to the situation, but then he takes the point.
He gets to it right away. He's like,
he gets to it right away.
Narn has been we've defeated them. They're nothing but trouble. We should be done with them. Right?
It's a curse. They're a curse around us, basically.
We've gotten our revenge. And that's it. It's over. Let's just leave them to their vices.
Right. So, okay, let me go over to Snob for a second. What do you think about this whole interplay? The aftermath of the assassination. How that played out? I really liked it. I thought it was cool.
Yeah.
The way because we saw the conspirators earlier, and then we saw them playing their roles here. I thought it was really well done. What do you think?
I agree. It was well done. I mean, it's obvious that those guys are all there. I mean, it's obvious Lando picked them for those reasons. And he needs to, seize the day right away. And they've got, like, you can tell these are the senior guys. They're all usually older, and then the rest of the court are the young, a bunch of girls and the young fops who follow the emperor around and just do whatever he says. They have no real power. They're just his buddies, his drinking buddies. So they've obviously set things up. It just makes Lando look better. He does look surprised when he is given the role. And I think, Peter does a good job of portraying that. And I would suggest that probably the other guys got together on their own. And they're like, all right, well, after Lando assassinates the emperor, who's going to be in charge? And they're all like, I don't want to deal with this mess. This is a big, let's all get Lando to do it. And they're all
not it.
A good plan.
Not it. Yeah.
I would suspect they all got together and did that.
That's funny. Jeff, what do you think about that? The whole conspiracy coming to the end.
I think it was good. I just wrote down something that if we were gonna do that Monday morning quarterback thing, that I would maybe have done.
Save that for that part of the show.
So that's why I was going to ask if we were going to do that. I was going to type it in chat too.
Yeah, we will.
But
I'm sorry.
I mean, I think it was great that that these guys all stepped up and says, the physician, I was with the physician when he declared him deceased, and his hearts just gave out, and and they all kind of just stepped up, because at this point they're like, all right, we've got a chance now. Our imminent doom is not necessarily insured at this point.
Mm-hmm.
But we need to get back to Centauri Prime and take care of business there before it's too late. And we only have 3 days left.
Right.
So
the mistake that the emperor
let's
made.
get the hell out of here.
Outpost, what do you think about?
You got to realize that Cartagena, when he came to power, he did away with all the old guards. So of course his court would be nothing but young people.
Mm.
He was very liberal in his views. Remember when you first meet him, he has the new haircut, the shorter haircut, and it used to be that the bigger the haircut, it was the more important you were.
Yeah.
And so he was very liberal. So of course he'd want to get rid of the more conservative parts of the court.
They're all part of his shadow cabinet.
Yeah. They're all part of the shadow cabinet now.
There's a good line, and I forgot it on there, that Lando that they mentioned, that basically Lando says, twice in our history that we lost an emperor with our dealings with Narn. Turon, when he was trying to make peace, and now with Cartagia. If Cartagia was still here, he'd say that this would be a sign from the gods
Interesting that he points out when Cartagio or when the previous emperor was trying to make peace,
Hmm.
because didn't he just kind of say the opposite at the time? Didn't he point?
The last emperor?
Yeah,
Well, Londo did.
he lied.
Londo
Londo
No,
lied.
lied.
no. They talked about. No, they talked about the emperor talked about reparations for Narn and making amends.
Well,
And
the emperor
He
did,
lied
but
on his deathbed. What he
when
said
he
on his
died,
deathbed.
Yeah,
yeah,
when
he
he
said
said
that
it.
they were all damned,
no,
and Londo lied and said continue.
Yeah,
Continue. Take us back.
Yeah, but everyone knew that the emperor came to make peace. They just thought, well, Londo said this. Oh, the emperor changed his mind. That I don't think that it invalidates what happened before.
maybe.
This what Londo says. But
Okay, Snob, did you have something else you wanted to say?
yeah, I thought Keith had a good question in the chat that we kind of already passed over, but maybe a quick comment if people want to comment on this. If you've got a comment, if given a chance, Veer would have hesitated, but he had no chance to think about it.
Interesting.
Anybody want to? I think this is
I think it was a. I think it was maybe an almost an immediate response of, this is the weight of our survival on the I have to do this.
I'm not myself. I'm not sure. Would Veer have hesitated if he had the chance to think about it? Maybe. I don't know. I mean, that's a good question.
There's too much chaos. There was too much chaos going on in the throne room. You had Narn's fighting Centauri guards all over the place. Jakar kicking butt left and right, and Kataja and Londo in the back over there.
Well, he also said, Keith said that it says Strange Shakar was free. Think he would have been held for his part. Well, Londo had that. Londo arranged this.
Londo covered that. Got that fixed quick.
Yeah.
Londo. Yeah, right. And he's holding up his end of it, right?
I mean, other than the
but
Emperor's
it's a good point though. You might think that the Emperor's guards would quickly round every Narn up, execute them before anything happened, and then the Emperor's dead. Oh well, those kind of things could have happened. But
the Emperor's dead. That they're not in the chain of command, right, at all.
And the Emperor's guard is the only one that was loyal to him, truly.
Right, and Londo did say he had the other guards.
Yes.
So I think they moved quick. They
they saw what this is, and they're like, "No, you go ahead, get out of here."
Okay, we're getting long here, so let's move to the Veer aftermath when Londo's like, "Yeah, we're getting out of this place." I did want to mention something. They showed the fireworks and everything, and the sky on Narn was clear. You could see the stars. I don't know if that was
It was starting to clear up, because if you look to the far right, it was dark.
Okay, they were in a nuclear winter thing, so I don't know if this was intentional to show a symbolic freedom, that they're free of this war or something. Anyway, I just wanted to make a quick note of that.
Where'd you get all the fireworks from?
Yeah, that's just another question. But let's just
at the Buc-ee's.
Yeah, right. Okay, so there's this fairly long
scene. Are everywhere.
Meow meow. This fairly long scene with Veer and Londo, and Veer is Londo's like, let's get out of here, we got to go, and Veer is drunk, and this whole thing, and then him and Londo have this kind of heart-to-heart talk. Who haven't I started with? Snob, why don't you talk about it?
I like the scene. I didn't have a problem with it. Veer is, I'm personally, I'm like, things are pretty, I'm thinking to myself, things are pretty bad, Veer. It's not a good time to get drunk. There's still probably a couple, million or more millions of Narns around us that aren't happy with us. Maybe not a good time to get hammered, even if you're having a problem with this. So I, from that perspective, I'm like, but you can see why Veer is like this. He's obviously feeling guilt from having murdered the Emperor. I think it's interesting the interplay between them, and how we talked about Jakar talking about Londo having an empty heart, and here we see Londo has an empty heart. It seems pretty obvious that he wouldn't have cared one way or the other if he had been the one to murder the emperor. He wouldn't have lost a second of sleep over it, unlike Veer, who is obviously having problems.
Yeah, and just quick, I think this scene mirrors the Sheridan and Ivanova scene, in a lot of ways, and I'm guessing that was intentional, because where there was kind of one of mutual respect, and where that goes, this was one where Londo talks about how he mistreated Veer and things like that, and he's trying to reassure, and he explains why. It's like he's jealous of Veer having been able to maintain that innocence and kind of idealism, and you could tell that Londo kind of regrets that Veer was put in this position, even though he doesn't soft soap it either. He's like, you did what was needed to be done, and
Right.
don't feel bad about it, because it was the right thing. But at the same time, it's not like, forget it, everything's good, shut up, let's go, kind of thing. He empathized with him quite well, I think. Madman, what do you think about this scene, this interaction?
I like the part, when it starts out, and when Londo comes in, he's like, Where, where are you? And he comes out and he's all drunk on there, and he says, I was having a drink with Cartagia, and I poured him a drink, and I poured myself a drink, and since he wasn't here, I drank for him, and then I broke the glass. I don't know if it was
He
my
broke the
glass.
glass. He broke the
I don't know if
glass.
it was my glass or it was Cartagia glass, but I think it is Cartagia glass I have in my hand, and I took another drink. And Londo's like, was it Keith Studley said, he's like, you betcha I'm drunk to the point. And it comes to the point you start to see with Veer, and he gets in, they get into that conversation. He says, listen, I didn't want this to happen to you. He goes, didn't want to see these things. I didn't want to know the things I know. I didn't want, I just wanted a job. I wanted just a basic life. I wanted a wife, and just a basic life. I didn't want this.
Maybe a little small title.
Yeah, this is a little small title. That's nothing special, And and Londo goes into that explanation. He's like, "Listen, I didn't want this for you. It's just these things happen. I didn't expect it. When you got here, got to Babylon 5, you were this scared little guy when you got here, and now you've changed. And to a certain point onto there. So don't feel you had to do what you had to do. So take your last drink, and let's go. Let's get the hell out of here right now.
Yeah, I think it's interesting that while Londo does kind of connect with Veer, he never quite takes it to the level of. He always maintains a little bit of gruffness in there. You know what I mean? And maybe that's a reflection that Londo lacks that. Even though he's not trying to, he just can't quite get there. You know what I'm saying?
His heart is hardened.
He's too right. He's too far gone.
Yeah.
His heart is hardened, or it's empty.
Well, it might be both. Yeah, it's an empty, hardened heart. Yeah,
it doesn't have the same relationship as Sheridan and Ivanova. They're close, but they're not that close.
Outpost, what do you think about this?
Well, everyone just keep. I don't. It was a moment, I think, of softness that we saw some relief in Londo in some ways, but then pushing Veer's, we're not done yet. We still have work to do. This isn't the time for this. It was pretty much like, you can do this later, but right now we got work to do. Come on.
Yeah. Jeff, what do you think?
I think we really saw the relationship between Londo and Veer. I think Londo probably gained a lot of respect for Veer and feels for Veer. I mean, he's envious, and he says it multiple times. He's envious of that innocence that Veer had, and he actually tried to protect Veer so that Veer could keep that. And now that innocence is all almost it's basically shattered at this point. But he's still got a good heart, and and Londo knows that Veer still has a good heart, and said as much so, right? And I think that ultimately that's what probably will make Veer a great emperor is he had to do something. He did something that had to be done to save the people, but he still has the goodness in him to be just and fair to the citizens of the Centauri. And I think that's I think they're building up to Veer eventually becoming the emperor when something happens to Londo, obviously that we know is going to happen at some point in the future. But I think that's an important fact is that Londo he regrets some of the things that he's had to do in his life and the way that he's done things, and he wanted to not have Veer go down that path, but Veer ultimately did what had to be done. So
Yeah. Okay. Again, of course, final thoughts. We can come back to anything you want, but let's address the final scene with Jakar and the other Narn in the throne room as they're ransacking the place, and Jakar comes in. We didn't really see what happened. After Londo left with the Emperor, we didn't really see how they were taken care of or escaped or did anything, but clearly they did. And then they have this whole discussion where these guys, these Narn, are right back to, let's get our revenge. I mean, basically going back to the position that Jakar had in the pilot
beginning,
yeah, at the very beginning. And of course, Jakar admonishes them, and they don't get it, and then they turn on him. Outpost, what do you think about this?
This just showed that the Narn didn't learn anything. They had gotten pushed to the point of near extinction by the Centauri, and they wanted to go back to fighting.
Yeah.
This is a time that they need to heal, and Jakar knew that more than anybody. And I think what's his name? I had his name up here.
Jalon.
Yeah, Jalon said the stupidest thing in the entire series to Jakar. Where were you? How did you suffer?
Mm-hmm.
The guy has lost his eye. The guy who literally lost all. He sacrificed his self-respect for the sake of the entire planet. They wanted to make him an emperor, and he says something along like, "We just deposed an emperor. Why would I want to?" It's like that. Like George Washington said,
thinking exactly that.
Why would we trade one dictator for 1,000 miles away for 1,000 dictators a mile away? It's that kind of thing. They did not learn. The Narn. This seems to be a reoccurring theme with them. They never learn. They take things to the extreme, to the point of self-destruction. The idea of them fighting again with what? Rocks? Their entire planet was destroyed.
Yeah.
And I love Jakar's reaction to when he says, "What have you sacrificed?" He just starts laughing in his face and walks away.
Well, remember, Jakar said they should be pitied. But you got to remember, with the Centauri and the Narn, you're not going to get rid of that hatred overnight. They've been hating each other for
100 years.
For about 100 years. That's not something that's going to disappear overnight. I mean, you might have some people says, "Oh, finally we got rid of them. Let's repair our home and all that." But then you're going to have a lot of other people like Jalon's going to be like, he's saying, "Let's go after these guys."
Jalon's an idiot. He's an idiot.
Of course. No, you got to remember. Yeah, he's an idiot. But you're going to have how many of the people on that planet was thinking the same thing? Let's go after these guys. Look what they did to our planet. The anger is on both ends, and you don't think that on the back end that or Centauris that like, oh, Carthage's gone. Now we're leaving the Centauri. I mean, the Narn Empire. Shouldn't we level it or something like that so they don't come back after us? You don't think that was being thought as well? I mean, it's not there,
Well,
but the hatred
I'm
is
sure-
still there between those two planets.
Yeah, I'm assuming that Lando's going to have to deal with the people who say we should level Narn anyway when he goes back, right?
Yeah, but a few things Jakar says here. He's like, no, we need to heal our. We have our people to take care. They are suffering. We need to address that. And he also, forcefully says, the Centauri are lost. It's like they might not realize it, but we have to realize it, and
They should be pitied.
right. Yeah,
Pity them.
and again, of course, that message doesn't land.
I think that's the key piece of this is
And
the
they
fact
didn't-
that they should
Oh,
be,
sorry.
that Jakar has realized that the Centauri are a lost people and that they, there's something really wrong with them and they should be pitied. I think that's the key
Yeah.
key thing, and it's very interesting Jakar seeing that. I mean, that says to me he's never going to go after the Centauri. It's some people on Narn might be like, oh, after we get or build ourselves, there'll be some of them will be like, should we go after them now or after we build ourselves up and then go after them? But he's obviously
And
never
another
go
point.
after them.
Another point is, and Jakar says this: the Narn didn't win their freedom. The Centauri imploded on themselves. They were given their freedom. They didn't earn it. They didn't fight it. They didn't win it back in a war. They were given their freedom.
Yeah, and in fact, the Centauri really didn't lose anything here. I mean, they lost their emperor, but their power is completely intact right now.
Yeah.
Well, I agree, but back to Outpost's point. I would say that the Narn people didn't win their freedom. It's Jakar who won their freedom.
Yes.
No.
No, well,
No,
remember what
just-
what one of the
Londo
representatives
gave
of
them their
the
freedom.
Centauri says. He says, "There's nothing left of Narn. We've gotten our revenge. Let's be done. We're done with them. We've done what we had to do. That's it. They're in ruins. Let's leave."
They did not earn their freedom. They were given it. The Centauri basically just like, we're done. It's not worth
Well,
it.
okay, but Outpost, this was the whole thing that played out, though, was an agreement between Jakar and Londo. I mean, that's what drove the whole thing.
And if Londo went to Jakar. Londo was the catalyst of the Narn freedom, not Jakar, not Jalan or whatever his name is, not any single Narn. It was Londo.
Okay, but
I would
but
disagree with
the
that.
whole point is Londo went to
course you would.
Londo went to Jakar because he realized he didn't have many allies to work with, right? That's the whole point we were shown over this fairly long period of time, is that he needed Jakar to make this happen. He was a key player in it at a minimum.
Let's put it this perspective. Do you think when they write the history to this, do you think they're going to say, well, a Centauri gone with Jakar and they joined forces against on them? No, that's not what's going to be saying in their history. They're going to say Jakar was brought upon the emperor and he broke his chains and we fought, and that's how it's going to happen. Remember, history is written by the victors.
Truth?
Well, they're each going to tell their own story.
And there was no victors in this situation. There's no
but
victors.
Outpost. Think about it for a minute. Think about it for a minute.
Stop!
No, hold on.
Yeah, listen. Okay, wait. We're not going to hold on. No,
Sorry.
Stop. Everyone, stop. Jeff, we're going to go to you. Say your piece.
I think it was very poignant that Jakar. First, you see him walking down the halls, and he comes into the throne room, and he sees this them tearing stuff off. They break the chair, the throne, I guess that the emperor had there, and they're just tearing everything off the walls and just kind of acting like hooligans. And he's basically like, what's wrong with you? There's so much. We have all these people suffering. We need to rebuild our cities. And they're like, oh, we should go and strike at him. It's like, with what? We need to take care of our people. We need to, and they're like, oh, what have you suffered for? And he's like, I think he's like, he has to. He kind of has no choice but to just kind of walk away and just shake his head and go, "You've learned nothing from all of
Mhm.
our troubles," you know. And I think ultimately it's going to, um, because they wanted to, you were very right on target with the whole George Washington thing, outpost, because that's exactly what I thought of when I saw it. I'm like, that's exactly the type of thing. Oh, you want to you want to elevate me to emperor, you want to make me king, when we just got rid of one king. Why? I don't want to, I don't want to do that.
Yeah.
We shouldn't do that. So
One, just a thought, and you guys can answer maybe your final thoughts or whatever. Is I wonder if Jakar laughing, at that point and walking away was thinking, was all this for nothing?
right.
Did they? Are we going to come through this
Mhm.
okay? Snob, what do you think about all this?
I think that's a good point, but I mean, I took it as he's just the absurdity of this Geelong guy telling him you've not sacrificed anything. That's how I took it. But I think your point about, have we not gone anywhere? I think that's a good one too. I mean, that could just be as very well as be true.
Yeah, and at some point, um, Jakar, he mentioned it's like, yeah, if they want to, if the people want to put me back in power as part of the, I forget what, Kari,
Kari.
thank you.
Kyrie, yeah.
Kyrie.
I'll take it, but whatever. But it's like he's old at this point, right? It's like at some point you kind of have to realize that, yeah, I've done my part. uh, the next generation's going to have to do it, whether I like it or not.
Yeah, but I mean, it's natural.
I don't think he's that.
Jakar has been key to, the
Absolutely.
Mhm.
saving Narn and freeing Narn. So, it's inevitable that he will have some sort of, you know, involvement. Just like someone mentioned George Washington. I mean, it's that kind of he's the George Washington of Narn in a sense. He's
Sure.
that stature. Uh, so I think it's inevitable that he'll be involved at some point. But
Well,
good on him for saying no. I don't want to be the emperor. You guys, we should go back to the way we were.
yeah, I think it was Outpost that first mentioned George Washington, and that is a good point because again, even though George Washington was loved and respected by so many people, there were like this Jalan guy or whatever, the detractors, that turned on him. Even though
Mhm.
he had said, are you guys familiar with his speech he gave when there was like, kind of talk of a coup or whatever, and he put on his glasses. He's like, yeah, I've given everything, including my eyesight. I'm an old man now. And he kind of broke this rebellious um, spirit by doing that. He reportedly brought people to tears by kind of using himself in that way. So I think my what I'm saying is I think your parallels with George Washington are very apt here. Okay, stop.
All right.
I think also, just to bring up, also that scene with Jalan and all that, and with they're wrecking the whole place, kind of reminds also of the end of the French Revolution. Also,
Yeah.
when they stormed the Bastilles and the castle at that time when they started to execute everybody, and they just tore up the throne room.
That's a good parallel.
Yeah. No, Cam, I'll I will save that one for the wrap up episode. We can spend some time on that one on the wrap up.
Okay.
Yeah, that other question, because we're getting near the end. All right, where are we at?
Quarterbacking?
Let's do. Okay, is there anybody
Actually, there is one last
change
thing.
anything?
There is one last thing.
Oh, all right.
The note that was left on his desk as Sheridan was
back.
talking when with the when they were leaving for Coriana 6. It says, when I took command of Babylon 5, I found a note on my desk, and it's Sinclair left this. Someone had left it there for me. It was a poem by Tennyson. I still remember the last part of it. Though we are not now of that strength which is in the old days moved the earth and heaven, that which we are one equal temper of heroic hearts, made weak by time and faith, but strong in will, to strive, to seek, to find, and not to yield.
All right.
Yeah, I think that was pretty strong to end that
With the
episode.
Tennyson
with that.
quote, yeah. Thanks for getting that. I
With
know
the
you're
Tennyson
good for the
quote.
quotes. Because I'm like, Madman will have that.
You didn't need to write it down.
Nope.
All right. What about you want to start with Jeff? We'll work our way up. Is there anything
Sure.
you want to armchair quarterback anything of the?
Yeah. So the one thing that I think, well, there was a couple of things. The first and foremost, I think it would have been nice over the several episodes to have seen Londo building this coalition of conspirators, because they kind of just came from out of nowhere. Suddenly, because at first it was just Londo, then Londo calls Veer, and then you have Londo and Veer the whole time, and then suddenly now we've got what, 5, 6, 8 people, and I'm like, where did these people come from? That was kind of the one surprising thing. The other thing is, and I'm sure this was by design, but Jakar could have easily just said, as a response to, we didn't earn our freedom. He could have said something like, we didn't earn our freedom. It was granted by sacrifices of many Narns. And it was by the grace of others that we earned our freedom today. And many people suffered and died towards this, and your irrational stuff. Yeah, I mean, he could have made some sort of reference to the fact that he had an agreement with Londo without directly saying he had an agreement with Londo. That would be the two things that I think. And the latter, not so much, but the first one is most importantly, I think. I would have liked to have seen some episodes, maybe throughout a couple of episodes, where he was actually kind of trying to find people that kind of felt like him, and that were he could earn the trust of. That was my biggest thing.
All right. Post anything. You don't have to have anything.
Yeah, I kind of agree with Jeff. I would have liked to see more of the build up. It did seem like all of a sudden, oh, where did all these co-conspirators come from? I would have liked to see more of the tormenting that Sheridan had to go through with the choice he had to make this episode. Like, maybe trying to figure out. It seemed like he got the idea way too fast. I did not like the scene where they were basically disrespecting what's his name? Dylan's aide.
Lanier.
Lanier. I couldn't get Veer out of my head. I really thought that was uncharacteristic of the characters. And but I really enjoyed the Cartagia's end. I really liked how they played that up. I liked how it was Veer that actually did it. He pulled the trigger.
Yeah.
And I'm hoping we see more kind of torment, maybe some more realization of he did it for the greater good.
Yeah, that would be good.
And
more definitiveness on that.
Yeah.
Okay. Good. Madman?
Yeah, I'm good.
I'm going to go into a tangent here.
Yeah, we both said it.
What I would have loved to have seen. No. What I would have loved to seen, if you recall in history, in Vietnam, the withdrawal of the U.S. forces out of Vietnam. I would have loved to have seen the Centauri leaving Narn. You have the people, the court, and all that trying to force their way onto the ships taking off, and there's still people, and you have the Narn in the background, just egging on to the situation, and they say they're getting closer. We got to get out of here. The frightened of the people that are frightened at that moment said, "We got to get out of here." Which if you ever seen footage from the Vietnam, the U.S. leaving Vietnam, it was insane. It was totally insane. People were trying to run up to the roofs of the buildings where the helicopters
Fall of Saigon.
were landing. Yeah, the fall of Saigon. Everybody running up, and the helicopters taking off, and people all practically hanging on to the helicopters and all that. I would have loved to seen something like that in this episode.
I did feel it went a little smoothly. We gotta go. Okay, no problem.
Yeah. Yeah, because they were ripping. They were doing. Like I said, they were doing the French Revolution in the middle of the throne room. So why not have the fall of Saigon and at the spaceport?
Who's going to be there?
Okay, yeah, I'm going to disagree. I'll use my part here to disagree with that. While I think that's a viable story to show and everything, the Narn are in no position to do this. Centauri Prime had them locked down hard, and they're pulling out quickly. I don't think that, even though they're letting the Narn run around in the palace and everything, I think they had that well in hand. It's like, we're leaving, and I'm guessing their forces aren't even gone. These people evacuating are not the last ones. They've got other work to do, so they're beating feet to go address the shadow problem. And I think that the rest will pull out, and maybe you'd have some of that as the last, the stragglers. But I don't think the Narn are really in a very strong position to do anything. But in terms of what I would change, this is going deep, and so I'm not saying this is reasonable, but just long range quarterbacking is, I think we've seen this kind of interaction with Londo and Veer a number of times, and I don't dislike it at either case, but I think it would have had more impact if this was kind of a singular thing where Londo, finally, one time kind of admits to Veer, that he respects him. So again, it's not that it was bad. It's just that it's kind of a theme that's played out a few times. And the other bit is I'm not sure that I liked the drunk Veer part. I think Studley said that he did like that. I kind of wish, I think it might have been more effective to see Veer like angry, which would have been very uncharacteristic for him, right? Because I think that would have been a stark difference, because and shown his trauma more effectively.
And blaming Londo maybe, or
something, so again, it's obviously it's quarterbacking. It's not that it was bad. It's just, it's a thought that occurred to me that it might have been,
I'll mention, although the fall of Saigon would have been cool, this is just the court leaving, right? There's probably millions of millions of Centauri soldiers all over Narn keeping it suppressed. They're not leaving that day. They're going to be. It's going to take months for them to pull out and stuff. So that's probably more realistic. There's but I think everyone's made good points. The only thing I would really change in this, like, I'm kind of looking at it very narrowly though, like looking exact as opposed to what would be cool for them to do. I'm just sort of looking at what was done and what might have changed. And I mentioned it. I already mentioned it during the show. It was just I thought the Veer and Londo talking about when they get the assassination weapon and they're talking about kill Londo. I thought that was just a little bit overdone. I would have cut that scene, before that stuff happened and done something, put something else in there. That's the only thing that I did, didn't really sit with me in this whole episode. That seemed a little off.
Yeah. Sorry. A quick additional note is I do agree with Jeff. Like many things in this season, I think that it was rushed, and all of these storylines could have benefited from being played out over a longer period of time, which of course is what was originally intended. But, so it's not a blame thing. It's just, it would have been nice to see.
Yeah, I agree as well. But I know, I'm not commenting on those things myself because I'm already accepted that this is a squished in So whenever I see something like that, I'm just like, it's because it's all squished. I kind of don't mention it because of that, but that's my own thing.
Okay.
Yeah. All right. Good to go. All right.
Final thoughts, right?
All right. Let's go to final thoughts on the episode, rankings, etc. Let's go. I guess we'll start at the bottom and work our way up. Go ahead, Jeff. Outpost Q.
Okay. Overall, I thought this was a really good episode. I think, particularly the scenes that are on Narn, the vast majority of the episode focused on that. But I really did like the stuff that they also had between Susan and Sheridan. I thought that was great, and the council all kind of hanging their heads, kind of in almost an aversion, or kind of oh yeah, we're asking you to do something that's we would be afraid to do ourselves type of thing. Was very impactful. There were a couple of scenes in there that I think, yeah, they went a little overboard. The drunk Veer thing, I think you got some point. I get it. He's drinking to try and forget about what he did or whatever. With Veer, and then them, of course, laughing, and the whole little scene that was mentioned earlier about, oh, kill Londo. Yeah, that was that didn't really fit. But overall, it was a really good episode. I'm going to give it an 8.5. I think those few things maybe dropped at a half a point. It might have been a 9 if they had done that. And of course, as I mentioned before, I would have liked to seen a build up of the conspiracy. I think they could have that would have been really awesome for them to go out and be hunting. Maybe Veer trying to find people that are slip up and say, yeah, I'm really kind of worried about what the emperor is doing. I think he's going to get us all killed, or that type of stuff. But yeah, overall 8.5. It was a really good episode. A lot of things are coming to a head, and we're gonna see. Of course, we still haven't seen. We don't know what's going on with Earth still, but that's kind of an ongoing theme right now. I think we're gonna see that next, right? That's coming soon.
You bet.
Hopefully.
You
Anyway.
betcha.
You betcha.
Overall, I thought this was a great conclusion to Cartagia. He'd been such an interesting character throughout these episodes that every scene he was in was so fun to watch. The actor, I wish he would have stayed in acting. We talked about this. His background in soap operas really, I think, prepared him for the dramaticness of the role. I loved the kind of the throwback that they did with how they unalived him. All in all, I think this was one of the better episodes of the series, in my opinion. There were a bit that, like, I think we're all in agreement. The kill Londo scene could have been cut. I do like the ending with Jakar and the other Narn for what it is. I would have loved to see kind of the aftermath of them leaving more, but all in all, it was done well. I probably give this. I probably agree with Jeff. 8.5, which I think is our highest rating so far that I've heard. So I give it an 8.5 as well.
Man.
Other than a couple of things with the Outpost and Jeff mentioned, which are minuscule to the situation, I think this was a powerful episode. The Emperor, of course. I've seen this actor before in the soap operas when he played a reverend. He was fantastic in the soap operas. He's a fantastic actor. For him to play Cartagia and the way he did a fantastic job here. You wanted to see more of this situation. Unfortunately, of course, they had to kill him off. Basically, the interaction between Veer and Londo was very important to take further to the situation. The points where now Londo is a prime minister, also that's important to basically his future. To the point. On the other end, over back on Babylon 5, the Sheridan Ivanova, you know, points together that basically are very important. And then, of course, the special guest Walter White being there. He did a great job. I'm going to give this a little bit higher. I'm going to be going with a 9 out of 10 on this one.
Wow. Mm.
I think that might be the highest rank in the entire series we've done.
Cam.
I like this episode. Obviously, the the Centauri stuff is one of my favorite, if not the favorite, storyline. Within the whole thing. I'm struck by Cartagia. He's only in 5 episodes. we see him only in these 5 episodes, and it was such a short time. And I really, again, watching it recently, it seemed like it was so much longer, the first time I watched it. And so, I guess it's good that they're packing it in quite effectively still, even though it would have benefited from being longer. Anyway, cut to the chase. This is easily a 9 for me, maybe even a little higher.
Wow.
It was kind of a, we had an A and a B plot basically that were very clear. And both well done. These little details, that we talked about, I think we basically all agree on, didn't quite hit, but overall, very important for both storylines. Well performed. They had, I wrote in my notes, good scene, and these good character interactions with Veer and Londo, and with Susan and Sheridan. So yeah, it's I maybe even more. Maybe I can go. Yeah, I probably shouldn't go 9.5. 9.2. Let's say 9.2.
Damn, man. And I thought I was doing good, given an
8.273. I'll. You know what, Cartagia? I mean, he is good. We should maybe start a letter writing campaign to put him back on the show. Like, I mean, those missions work, right?
Right.
Missions work, right?
His
You
twin.
have to remember when I first saw it, it was like week to week. It wasn't such thing as streaming. So for me, it was like, oh, I got to wait a week for the next episode.
Yeah, let me say a great episode. I was going between a 8.5 and a 9. I think I'll go with a 9. It really is that good. That might be the highest rating I've given anything so far. I think maybe another 9, but yeah, really excellent episode. Everything about it is almost perfect. And I will say the reason the Membari were so cool on Walter White's ship was because he got them all hopped up on meth. That's why they're all okay with getting them.
I was wondering if we could get one of those jokes in this episode.
That's right. They're all good to go. So yeah, great episode overall. Yeah, almost near perfect. 9. I'm making a decision.
Et snob. Et
Cam kind of convinced me a little bit when he said
Cam.
what these guys said, but yeah, good episode.
Yeah.
Okay,
Death Angels. Boo.
I thought I was doing good given an 8.5. I was like, yeah, it would have been a 9, but
you can give them whatever you want, man.
Yeah, I mean, we don't have to agree.
Yeah,
Outpost is okay, but Death Angels, boo, Wendy Testaburger.
All right, let's do trivia and wrap it up. Okay,
what's the trivia?
We're
get to the next scene.
Losing viewers.
That's the old
viewers.
scene.
They're getting tired. Or yeah. 2 hours, over 2. Okay, so questions for next week. We'll give you the answers next week. Who does the Emperor Cartagia kill in this episode? Oh, easy question.
Yeah, we did.
Who is an empty eye? Who is an empty eye sees through to an empty heart, not an empty heart spoken to. So not who says that, but who's it spoken to? What are the chains used to restrain Jakar made of?
Oh, we didn't specifically mention it.
Say that one.
I tried, but I couldn't remember the name of it.
What planet in the Coriana system is the next Vorlon target? I'll give you hints. There's a number at the end. Something Coriana number something. And what is the name of the White Star captain that Sheridan asks if he is married? And it's not. I mean, it's Walter White, but it's not Walter White, right? Like we want his name
Life
in
is
the show,
unfair.
and I think we mentioned it. So that's a pretty. You should be able to get that one too. Everything should be good. All right. What's coming up, Death Angel Shadow? Go ahead.
Well, coming up this Sunday, well, actually this Friday, we have Grognards Assembled. That's at 8 p.m. on my channel, The Bad News Bards, as you keep on pointing out, recently rebranded as The Bad News Bards. And then Sunday on the actual The Bad News Bards show, we have Jeffrey Talanian, the creator of Hyperborea, which is the guy that actually made the system that we're playing right now on our Monday game. And then, let me see. Bring me up full screen. Because I got a special coming up. We have the Independence Day celebration, July 5th. At a special time, we're going to start about an hour early at 8 o'clock p.m. And it's tentatively labeled episode 1776. Now, we're going to have subscriber giveaways and special guests are going to drop in. I've been working on this for a little while, making some connections at the cons and stuff like that. So you do have to be a subscriber to win. But that's easy, man. That doesn't cost you anything. Subscriptions are free, dude. So sign up. We're trying to hit that number, that magic number, right, Cam? So anyway, that's coming up on July 5th. So it's after the 4th, which is a Saturday. So any rate.
All right. Outpost Nerd.
I'm working on a new series called Popcorn Bucket Hole, where I take the worst movies I can find rated on Rotten Tomatoes and review them. Check out for that. Monday, I did my review of Spider Noir, which I absolutely love. So, and then I did my novel update. I talked about my novel update and some things going on. So go check that video and look forward to Popcorn Bucket Hole at Outpost Nerd.
All right, good. Q.
Well, tomorrow we got the MeTV Tunes Kung Fu Hong Kong Fooey returning back onto television with Pebbles and Bam Bam. Friday's video is going to be delayed. Unfortunately, I found a glitch in the video itself when I was transferring to Rumble, so I have to take it back and re-edit it. So it will air next Wednesday. Now, as far as Tuesday, we already have something set for Tuesday's Man Man Cafe. We will be talking about Tartakovsky. We'll be doing Conan the Barbarian animated, which is going to be a fantastic thing. If it's going to come out, Tartakovsky. It's going to be on Amazon Prime, obviously.
Oh, it's good.
Yeah, well, he hasn't missed yet, but yeah, I'm glad that he's going to be doing it. Also, obviously, we're going to be doing the box office. Toy Story versus Supergirl, and so far the reviews are really awful.
For both?
Also, next week, Man with the Show will be very light because we're going into a holiday weekend. So basically, maybe one or two other videos, possibly. It depends on what I can get together by then.
All right, and I will mention Jason's show. Jason couldn't be here today. He's got something going on early in the morning.
Could be at work at like 3 in the morning.
Yeah, 3 in the morning, which is like a couple hours from now. Check out Sci-Fi for Me TV. Check out Jason's channel. He's almost every day. He's usually doing a show in the afternoons. All right, Cam, you got anything you want to mention?
Nah.
On this channel, we'll be this Sunday. We'll be doing something. I don't know yet, but I'm sure we'll figure out something by then. Oh, actually, you know what? Sorry, I should go and mention Dean. Dean was supposed to be on tonight, but he is boiling over there in the UK, I guess, apparently.
Heat wave!
Well, they're also in crunch time, too, trying to get this stuff out here.
Yeah, for their thing, for their game. So, yeah, go check out Dean's channel, and he is, I don't know if you guys will switch up for him. Maybe he'll be here next week. I'm not sure.
It's supposed to be both of us next
so
week.
both of you guys? Okay,
yeah.
Well, there you go. Well, then
I'm
no
next
problem.
week.
Yeah,
then
it's
no problem.
Outpost. Meet me and Dean next week.
So check out, so maybe we'll see Dean next week if the heat wave's over. And all right. For this channel, we have this week, we're going to be doing something on Sunday on the Top Lofty Lounge. Something. I don't know what. We'll figure it out eventually. And of course, next week on this show, Babylon 5 Retrospective, it's episode 6, the conclusion of the Shadow War. What's going to happen? The Sheridan's all off to the off to fight the Shadows and the Vorlons, and I don't know what's. Hopefully, we'll see a little bit. We'll see a little bit for what's going on in on Centauri Prime as well. Hopefully, we'll see something about that too.
It's Into
I don't know
the
if we will.
Fire is next week episode.
But yeah, it's called Into the Fire. That's right. All right, so it should
Into
be a
the
good show.
fire. Sounds like a
All right.
Dawkins song.
Okay. That's everything we have. Thanks for coming and watching. A little bit long today, but we hope you enjoyed the show.
Not too bad.
And we hope to see you next week. Good night, everybody.
Good night, everybody.
Good night.
Laters.
Good night, everybody.